Hey, beautiful seeker, welcome back to the Existential Shift. We're doing a love reading today between the divine feminine, right here in this pentagram, and the divine masculine, right here in this pentagram. Please place yourself wherever you are placed, and then we'll have past, present, future potential. This will be for the time cycle from the new moon in Libra. So it can either apply for the next 2 weeks until the full moon in Aries, or for the next 6 months until the next full moon in Libra. Okay, and this will vary, and I feel like you will know what is for you. This is for the collective divine feminine and divine masculine. So this will apply to you somewhere on your journey because you are a part of the collective. This might bring forth a relationship that you were in, something that you are in, or the next thing that will come to you. Okay. Either way, there is something in it for you to learn and to understand about where you are on the cycle of the collective expansion, or should I say, integration of yin and yang towards oneness consciousness. And it's playing out in our oh so mortal mundane lives within our love relationships. Now, this is a romantic reading. You do have the option to book your own personal reading that will apply for you and your person of interest. Link to that is below. Many of you know this double pentagram spread that I'm doing here, either from the extendeds that I used to do on Vimeo, that were also available on Patreon. All of the love extendeds until August 2022 are still over on Patreon, by the way, but I'm not doing them anymore on Vimeo, on Patreon. On Patreon, you can find deepening your esoteric knowledge and being a part of my work on a regular basis if you want to check it out. However, I am now giving the possibility of double pentagram for you guys here, as you know, as it applies to the collective, to divine feminine and divine masculine, respectfully. And also, if you want to get a personal that is absolutely relevant specifically to you, you now can do that. I pre-shuffled and I pre-pulled the cards. I did not look at them. We're discovering them together. Okay? So I'm very, very excited to see what it will bring forth. And feel free to share in the comments how it applies to your life. Okay? Let's get straight into this. In the Divine Feminine's head, she has 8 of Swords. In the Divine Masculine's head, he has Knight of Cups. It seems that in this cycle, in this lunar cycle, you guys are not in good communication at the moment, anyway. She is in her head, not really open to communication, not very trusting, feeling like there's no point. No matter what she does, it's a catch-22. So what's the point of trying or talking or saying? She feels like she doesn't know what to say or how to say it if she knew what it is that she wanted to say. It feels mentally restrictive. There's a lot of, being in her head, cycling the pain. And he seems to be mentally moving away, trying to let go, trying to offer his cup, possibly with his communication, to someone else. Now, it's very important. I should have said that before I started opening the cards. First of all, anything can happen. There are so many cards to open up to see how things actually are, if taking everything under consideration, and also how things will unfold, right? Now and in the future. However, keep in mind that this could be, if you like these definitions, a twin flame journey, soulmates, karmics, relationships. This could either be something that is meant to end or something that is meant to continue. It does not contradict either way that it is the interaction between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and your divine counterpart can change depending on where you're on the journey, where you're at. I'm sorry. To know more I do recommend you watch my video. It's a 13th element video on my 13th element playlist. It's called Timeless Love, the Tea on Twin Flames, Soulmates, and Karmic Relationships. I will link it in the upper right-hand corner and also at the end screen so you can view it. And I do recommend to watch it so that you can understand the nature of these types of readings that I'm going to do moving forward when you see the next one. Okay? In her heart space, we have Seven of Wands. And in his heart space, we have the Sun. So she feels like love is a battlefield. And no matter how she thinks about it, there's no way out. And she feels overwhelmed by even trying to love or be loved. At this point, it feels like whenever there's one little win, there are 20 losses, one step forward, 20 steps backwards. And she's not sure what's the point and what's the point. Her heart is really trying to keep it together, to fight for hope, to fight for optimism, to fight for faith in love. But it's a struggle. And the divine masculine seems to be in a more positive, optimistic trajectory. He has faith. He has, he feels really secure within himself. He feels like if he wants someone, he can have her. He feels like he has a choice. He feels like it's possible. It looks like divine feminine and divine masculine are in a very different energetic spheres. And maybe that's what creates the tension or lack of ability to have harmony between one another. Because the frequencies of the heart and of the mind on both sides are different. So it's hard for them to exist in one space harmoniously. Some of the guys are dealing with women who are possibly have given up, and so everything is just super hard when it comes to interacting with them. And they're looking for something more joyous and more fluid. Now, I'm not shaming in any way, shape, or form the women. You've went through so much, right? This is not about right versus wrong. This is just about the nature of your journey that has been very hard when it comes to love, as it seems, as it feels. And maybe he had it easier, or maybe he just moved along and decided to not worry about it. It could be real, it could be denial. Maybe you're both on the same frequency, but the woman is aware of it and the man is kind of covering it up. We'll see further and then we'll know. What she gives to this situation, to this dynamic, is the Chariot. A lot of fighting energy, a lot of masculinity coming in from the feminine. So the feminine energies are very much in their masculinity. It seems like they're not in their femininity. And that could be something that energetically is pushing him away. What he brings is Six of Cups. In his actions, it seems like he's trying to soften the energy and the dynamic. Maybe less harsh words, maybe less trying to chase things, and trying to soften the dynamic. It actually looks like the divine masculine here is very sensitive and empathic to her, understanding, while she is expressing somewhat of a harsh energy. A lot of women that I'm tapping into here, okay, has very wounded femininity that they had to overcome by strengthening their masculinity, which in turn suppress their feminine energy even more. And that by default created also a wounded expression of their masculinity. Now we all have both energies, right? But we can't really be half-half. In the whole picture of what we are contained from, what we are made of. Yes, sure, we can have equal energy of yin and yang. But in this material, physical avatar world, there needs to be a choice of expression. So if the feminine has a choice of expression that is masculine, and it will by default create wounded masculine, because it's not a healthy masculine energy that is coming through here. It's a masculinity that was developed for the sake of protecting the wounded femininity. Does that make sense? There's a difference between being genuinely masculine in your energy versus creating this plastic masculinity to protect injured, weak femininity. Note I said injured, right? So this is not in ways of like, oh, something is wrong with the feminine for not being feminine. It's not about that. There was suppression, there was pain, there was harm. So this was a survival mechanism. However, this is not serving her. And by default, it doesn't allow the masculine to behave masculine with her, because she's already expressing that energy. So by default of yin and yang, of this world of duality, when there's already a masculine expression, there's no room for another. There has to be like room for it. So if you're a feminine who wants a man who, for lack of better terms, acts like a man, who's in his masculine energy, if that's what you're looking for, then it's important that you go through healing and the process of finding your femininity and behaving from that place. Otherwise, he won't be able to, and he will seek other places where he can express that masculinity. You feel like you stand on a Queen of Cups. Some of you that are in this energy don't agree with me. You think you are in your femininity. And he feels like he stands on the Four of Wands. So he sees the potential with her. He sees what it can be. He just feels like there's no room for her, no room for them, no room for this. Okay, let's take a moment and see what you are both dealing with outside of your dynamic. You have Ace of Cups, which is beautiful, and the Empress. Look at you. So you're absolutely in your divine femininity in other aspects of your life. But when it comes to romance, or when it comes to the man you're dealing with, you don't express it. You don't show him that. I'm talking to the women now. You show him the wounded femininity, and then you cover it up, and then you cover it up with the protective masculinity. If he could see this Empress Ace of Cups energy that you obviously have, they would not be showing up in your pentagram otherwise. And that could be the thing that confuses you, the feminine I'm talking to right now, thinking that you are expressing femininity because you're so divine feminine in other aspects. Maybe you're uber creative, beautiful in your society or in your community or in your family or whatever other dealings you express this such beauty in and out and incredible femininity. But maybe you've been injured so many times by men or by love or by other wounded masculines that the trigger, the automatic, is to express that to them or to him, whoever you're dealing with, right? And then they don't get to see this. or to feel this or experience this. If you could, it's not, easier said than done. It requires a process of healing. It requires to lay down your weapon and let go of the fear. And that requires trust. And that's a hard thing to do for someone who's trusted before, possibly several times, and got really disappointed or betrayed or, all that. So I'm not saying, oh, just do it. I understand. But the way to get there is to first be aware of it, acknowledge it, and then you can work with it, and allow him to do things for you without perceiving it as you being weak. On the contrary, it will show that you're confident and in your power. When we let men be men, they become. And often you can be surprised, and I'm talking to women now, how it's already there within them. It just didn't have room to express itself. And to the men who are watching, or divine masculines, I understand why you can't stick around, because you feel like you're energetically being pushed. I know most readings tend to show that it's the feminine that is allegedly more evolved and the masculine is the one that needs to catch up, but that's not what the reading shows me. Not what this reading shows me. It looks like the feminine needs to catch up. You might be way more advanced in everything else, but when it comes to love and romance, the reason he's not there is because you're not there. And you can be, again, it's in you, gloriously, in fact. It's very important for the feminine. It looks like it's very important for the women here to show how strong they are to the man. But men don't want to see how strong you are, not because they don't think you're strong, or not because they don't believe you can be strong, but because they really want to be strong for you, so it doesn't matter to them. They're not judging you in accordance to your, masculine strength. It's not what matters to them. Not in romance, anyway. A knight can't be a knight of another knight. It's not to say you can't be a knight, but that's not what's coming through here. You're not coming through as a heroic knight. You're coming through as an injured little girl that has developed incredible amount of empathy and understanding of other people, right? It's also a safety mechanism. If you know the room, then you're able to keep yourself safe. But the whole point is that he wants you to feel safe with him and not have to do that. Because to him, even if it's not conscious, even if it's subconscious, if he sees that you feel like you have to stand up for yourself and defend yourself, it registers to him as if he can't stand up for you and protect you, which makes him feel like he failed or is failing his knightly duty. Now, again, it's not necessarily an aware thought process, but it is biological and it is emotional and it is in the psyche. And it is okay, by the way. You know, the new moon in Libra, the cycle calls for balance. So if one side of the scale is in his masculinity and the other side of the scale is in her masculinity, there is no balance. One side needs to be in their femininity, one side needs to be in their masculinity. You decide who you are, but you got to decide. And by default, that's what you will attract. The opposite that is required for that balance. Does that make sense? Now, I don't think I'm saying something that you'll have a hard time with because, again, the femininity is oozing from this feminine energy. Uber, like probably very beautiful, very sexual, dresses nice, but something with the energy and the interaction and the dynamic between her and him is clashing. And it makes him feel like instead of being with her, he has to help heal her, the little girl in her, in her, right? And makes him feel like a dad. And something about that, because he's a healthy masculine. I mean, there are a lot of men who want to be the sugar daddy, right? But we're tapping into some healthy masculine here. I like this guy. He doesn't want to be her dad, right? He doesn't want to be a filler to psychological needs. Outside of the dynamic between the two of you, he has Four of Cups and the Strength card. He's dealing quite heroically with some insecurities and some troubles and doubts. But he's doing a very virtuous job. And some of them might be drawn to another feminine in this story that seems to be very tapped into this balance of feminine power, right? Here we see the need. How do I explain this? I actually did a video that really goes deep into it. My most recent 13th element. It has a it has a very red thumbnail. The curse of the last 100 years on the divine feminine, where I explain the difference between feminine power and masculine power. See, power is just power. It's not in and of itself feminine or masculine. Okay? There is feminine power and there is masculine power. However, it's not that one side is strong and the other isn't by nature. Hence, the side that is allegedly weak by nature needs to act like the side that is allegedly strong by nature. No. As a woman, you don't have to act like a man to be powerful. That is the embodiment of chauvinism. As a woman, I'm weak, hence I have to act like a man to prove that I'm strong. You're falling into the trap of the chauvinism. As a woman, you are powerful. But here, this feminine is not tapped into her feminine power, within romance at the very least. She portrays masculinity to exert a level of power, but that just registers as weakness because it is a form of weakness. You're not in your power, not truly. You're in the facade of power. But there is, I'm sorry for those of you who are in this side, but here there seems to be like moving towards a direction. The Strength card is very much that type of powerful femininity. The magic that comes from receptivity, from patience, from knowing thyself, for not having to prove anything other than just being divinely and godly and goddess-like, should I say. So to the men watching, I see some situations that have healthy masculines with injured feminines that are in between the injured feminine and a healthy feminine. And they seem to be moving towards the healthy feminine. Now, again, you can be anyone in this story, but I feel like there's this process now with this Libra new moon energy where it's really pushing us as a collective for the healthy masculines to not stay stuck in with injured feminines, because first, you're not giving them the room to tap into their healthy femininity. And second of all, you're injuring your healthy masculinity and you're preventing healthy feminines from uniting with their healthy masculines. So that will create breakdowns between relationships like this, for example. And by default, it will really empower injured feminines to tap into their powerful femininity. And again, don't not to be confused with pretending to be a man. If anything, women, let me tell you something. It's just a perception of power that makes you think that feminine power is somehow lesser than masculine power. It's a distorted perception of power that was imposed on us for like thousands of years, actually, by injured masculinity. We can also help raise injured masculines by tapping into our healed femininity. If you're constantly chasing, creating in romance, I mean, okay, there's many fields in your life where it's absolutely amazing to tap into your healthy masculinity, right? Like your work, your careers, many things. But if you tap into that receptive power, you will no longer attract passive masculines, right? And if more and more women do that, then more and more men will be forced energetically to rise up to their masculinity. Now, by the way, the personal reading that if you'll want to book, it will be more specific to your situation and actually express what's going on between the two of you. You know, this takes a more divine spiritual form because of the nature of this reading. It's divine feminine and divine masculine archetypes, right? It's for the collective. So just keep that in mind in case you were wondering. Okay, let's see past, present, future potential. So the recent past between these two is Nine of Cups. Present is Nine of Swords. Yep. And then moving forward, we have Knight of Swords and Five of Cups. Yeah. So relationships that are between injured feminines and healthy masculines are not going to last in this cycle. There's an ending anywhere between the next 2 weeks to the next 6 months. And then that will make room for healthy masculines to connect to healthy feminines. So if you're a healthy feminine in your feminine power, okay, then that can happen. You can have union with someone who's in their masculine power in a healthy, balanced way. 2 weeks to 6 months. Okay, there are musical chairs here. Now, right now, it feels like shit for these two, for this dynamic. It's painful. And there will be a period of time where you're going to be mean to yourself, and I ask you to not, but you'll be tempted to speak badly to yourself, to shame yourself, to blame yourself. So, especially for the women out there that have the injured femininity, first of all, I love you. Second of all, you have all the goddess in you. You just gotta want to meet her and be her. Set aside the perception of what it is to be a woman and just feel it inside. What is your subjective need and desire? What do you truly yearn for? And let that play out. Put ego aside. You don't have anything to prove to anyone. You just need to feel better and have a wonderful, loving life. So, to the women out there that might be experiencing a breakup or an ending, please try to avoid falling into the trap of blaming yourself, being mean to yourself, and by default, possibly being mean to them and lash at them. It's not going to help the situation. And know that there is so much abundance waiting for you on the other side of that bridge if you'll only be willing to cross it. And to the men who are watching, it's interesting. Look, you've done the work. You're in a good place. And I don't want that to imply that the women didn't do good work. There are women coming through here that did phenomenal. You might be this woman, right? This feminine. But neither is like better or worse, good or bad. It's not like that. We've all went through as women, slash are going through, slash will continue to go through this injury. This was done to you. This was done to us. Generations after generation after generation of suppression and oppression and abuse of, our love, our compassion, our generosity, our receptivity. It made us feel like there's something wrong with it, that we have to suppress it to survive. We did have to suppress it to survive. So there is absolute no shame and no guilt. This is not a fault. This is not your fault. There is no fault here. There's just injury and healing. You understand? And trust that from a higher perspective, this is all for the better. You met this person so that they can inspire you and remind you what you can be, who you can be, so that they will show you by their reaction what it is that you're doing that is based on your pain and is pushing others away. They were a part of your healing, preparing you to become the woman that is a match to the kind of man you want. So it's not that you lost. It's not that you screwed up or missed an opportunity with this amazing guy. There is another guy that is amazing, that is more accurate for you. We meet people for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime, and that's okay. And all of it is legitimate, and all of it is important, and all of it is love. So don't be tempted to go into the despair. This is from Goddess. Goddess will not let you be in a situation where you are where your psyche feels like you're with your dad somehow because they remind you of him. So you're staying in the injured little girl phase. And it's not the man's fault. He's just who he is, but something about him triggers that. It's actually not a fault. It's for a reason. You draw this interaction so that you could be triggered into healing, right? So you could be aware. It's a mirror. It's a reflection. Don't blame the mirror. And if you are with a very toxic masculine or someone really bad, this is not the guy that is coming through here. So maybe this is the next situation or a past situation. Maybe this is to explain to you why something didn't work out. I don't know. But I'm not tapped into a toxic masculine. I'm tapped into a toxic, quote unquote, feminine, injured feminine. Your personal reading might say something else. The next collective divine feminine, divine masculine might say something else. This is the energy that we're tapped into. So this is what some of my seekers out there need to hear and to know and to learn. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This dynamic is not going to last. And the more you'll try to force it, the more pain it will cause. Can you show me a glimpse, just a glimpse, because it's not the focal point of this reading. No, actually something else. I want to do something else that I always like to do. Let's rearrange the cards and see what else can come through. So we have one ace, two fours. So that's the repetitions. We're going to take repetitions. These are the major arcanas. I'm going to put them right here. This brings another layer to the reading. Let's see what can come through for love for you guys. Or the dynamic between feminine and masculine energies. Here we have 2 9s. 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we have 2 knights and a Queen of Cups. Do you like lavender here? Okay. So, injured divine feminines. You've had your share of, in the past, of aggressive, toxic, mean masculinity. And you are on the process of turning your back to it, becoming receptive to a romantic, sweet, loving, present, compassionate, containing masculinity that steps up to the plate. Although he's still not a king, this is a queen and a knight, but that's okay. It's still on the process, on the journey. It's good. And if you are with that person now, don't let the past masculinity that injured mess this up. Does that make sense? Let me look at the 2 4s and the 2 9s for a second right here. So we have a mismatch of archetypes. Fire and water. Fire fumes the water. Water turns off the fire, right? And here we have water and air. Air and water creates air bubbles. There's no actual integration. They are parallel to one another, oxygen and water, but not true integration. However, if we look really deep, just a side note, when the water is fumed by fire, it becomes gas or air, if you want to call it. So even if the process right now feels itchy and not harmonious, it leads to harmony and it leads to making sense. And there is so much guidance from spirit for women and men here that are coming through to tap into their divinity, for women to be in their absolute feminine power and for men to be in their absolute masculine power. Again, there's never absolute energy of one, polar energy of one thing ever, right? We all have masculine and feminine, but in our expression in the world, right? Be it gender identity, whatever. I don't even want to go into that. It's a good process. There is a lot of healing. There is a lot of empowerment. There is finding true love. The heart chakra is coming through very strongly. Venus is coming through very strongly. Yeah. For a healthy foundation to be built, a cycle needs to end. Something that is perceived as a wish fulfillment, but actually brought you a lot of distress and lack of sleep. Okay. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you're ready, check out Patreon where everything is. If you want to book your own personal reading, link is below. It's also in the description box. I love you, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.